All right, all right. Welcome to episode number 2 of The Edward Show. We are going to talk about Threads. Threads is in the news. Threads is hot. And Twitter just threatened, I just read this. Twitter just threatened to sue Meta over quote unquote systemic, willful, and unlawful misappropriation of Twitter's trade secrets and IP, as well as scraping of Twitter's data. In a cease and desist letter sent yesterday to Zuckerberg by Elon's lawyer, Alex Spiro, Elon commented on this and said, competition is fine, cheating is not. Elon said, competition is fine, cheating is not. If somehow you haven't heard of Threads, Threads is the Meta Twitter. It's the Twitter rival from Meta, basically a clone of Twitter. Its base functionality is you post short messages and reply to people. It's really just like early Twitter. It's going pretty viral right now. I think they have tens of millions of DAUs now. I mean, they launched literally on the 5th of July. It's now the 7th of July. Gary Vaynerchuk is going crazy about it. He is posting nonstop about Threads and about how it's this big opportunity, as is Alex Hormozy. All these big marketing people are posting about it. And I actually think right now it is a huge opportunity. So I'm going to talk about that and why I think it's a big opportunity, but I don't think it will last. I don't think it will last for long, to be honest. I think there are a bunch of issues that people aren't really talking about or thinking about, and I'll give my predictions. So, right now it's really easy to connect to people on it because some of the big influencers who are on Instagram. Well, first of all, a lot of people can't get onto Threads. There's no access in the EU. Some people just don't care, and so a lot of influential people on Instagram who may not see your notifications on Instagram will see your notifications on Threads. It's not as saturated yet. And that's, I think, a pretty big opportunity. So if there's somebody that you want to get in touch with, you can basically like thread at them. That's a version of tweet. You can thread at them. There's no DMing in the Threads app, which is wild. It's wild to me that there's no DMing. But I also think it's cool. Right now, there's not a lot of spam. I see very little spam. I see very little porn. I see very little crypto adverts. There's no send me 1 Bitcoin, I'll send you 2. I don't see that in the FYP and the For You page. So that's pretty great. But there's no desktop access. It's very clearly an MVP, a minimum viable product. There's no desktop access. And like I said, there's no EU access. So it makes it pretty restrictive right now. But at the same time, it makes it easier to reach bigger people. And there are other issues, like it's still buggy, like I said, MVP. So it's pretty buggy. Of course this will go away, but right now it's pretty buggy. I couldn't even load Mark Zuckerberg's feed. And that Twitter's threatening to sue Meta. The fact that they're threatening to sue, though, and they haven't sued, that's, I don't know if they will. It could just be a publicity thing because it's like, why not just sue? That'll be really expensive as well. And it's like, can Twitter really win? I mean, I don't really know what trade secrets there is. As somebody who has used Threads, it's like very, unless maybe there's the code secrets. Maybe they've hired over devs from Twitter who have shared things that they're not supposed to share. But I think like the functionality of early Twitter is pretty easy to recreate. I think it's a pretty good publicity move to threaten to sue Meta. Does it show that Twitter is fearful? I'm not sure. And I actually don't think Twitter should be that fearful. I'll talk about why. But right now, like I said, big opportunity. So if there's someone you want to like talk to, it's kind of like Clubhouse in the early days. It feels like that. There's that same level of hype about it. But I'm not like crazy bullish. And Yeah, but it does have potential. Um, it's still like, sometimes it times out and it crashes. Honestly, like Sean Purry, somebody who I really respect, he said the gangster thing to do would have been to launch Threads with an edit button. That would have been him because it took Twitter so long to put in the edit button, and that didn't happen. Very clearly an MVP. So I want to think about Threads long term. Um, so Threads right now, like I think another reason that it has a lot of potential is because you get all of your Instagram followers ported over to Threads. So there's a lot of people who are way more influential on Instagram than they are on Twitter, and they can create a Threads account and just have all of their followers ported over, um, like that. And I think your followers on Instagram, for a lot of people, they tend to be, and the people you follow, especially, tend to be very close to you. So it's more like community oriented in that sense. Um, and another thing right now, this is another reason why it's a big opportunity, is the things that you post get more reach. They're like, because there's not that many people on it, there's not that much content. So if you have like a high performing piece of content from Twitter or even a video from TikTok, post that on Threads. And I've been doing that, and it has people who haven't seen my stuff interacting with my stuff. So I think that's pretty cool right there. I saw that happen with tons of other people. The discovery right now, I think, is pretty good because there's not a lot of saturation. There's not a ridiculous amount of competition. And yeah, I think the being able to port over your audience from Instagram to Threads is a pretty cool thing, but that's actually part of the problem. And I'll talk about that in a second. Um, and yeah, I think also clearly the elephant in the room is that like this is also going viral because a lot of people are not really liking Elon right now. And without sharing my personal politics, I think it was a mistake on Elon's part this is me criticizing. I respect like Elon's career a ton, but I think the mistake was politicizing Twitter as much as Elon has. I think everything that he released was good, but it just should have been done without him expressing judgment. I'm a huge free speech advocate, but I think expressing judgment and taking sides, that was a dangerous move because it politicizes the product, and it like Twitter is a political product, but the whole idea of purchasing it and making it this free speech bastion is that it's in the middle. And so I think that wasn't smart. And so now a lot of people are going to Mastodon and they're going to Threads as an FU. But I think hatred, like, I don't know, will the hatred last? And I think I can make the argument that the hatred isn't enough to keep Threads going, which, like I keep saying, I'm about to do. So, so yeah. So I guess the biggest, so here's the real question that people just aren't really talking about. And this is now me getting into why I don't think it will be a super long lasting product. The question is, and I pose this to everybody listening, I pose this to other people. In fact, actually, another reason I love Twitter is I made a video. I meant to mention this earlier. I made a video about the difference between Threads and Twitter. And I originally made it on TikTok and I released it as well on Twitter. It went viral on Twitter. It has tens of thousands of views, continuing to get views. And because of that, I was invited onto a radio show in Los Angeles to talk about Threads. And I thought that was so cool. And people introduced me as like a viral marketer. And I was able to share these opinions that I'm sharing with you on this radio show. And I thought that was great. I loved that. And that was because this video went viral on Twitter, not on Threads. So the question that I posed on that show that I will pose to you now is, are the same people who do well on Instagram the same people who will do well on Twitter? I'm going to ask that again. Same people who do well on Instagram, the Instagram influencers, are they the same people who would do well on a platform like Twitter, on a short form text platform like Twitter? And I would argue no. And I think there's a reason that a lot of people who have Instagrams, they don't have Twitters. They don't care to have Twitters. It's very different brands. I think, Twitter is about having a great mind. It's about sharing amazing thoughts. And that's not always flashy. That's not always super flashy like you would find in an Instagram reel or in an Instagram photo. Sharing your thoughts like that. Sharing complex thoughts like in a Twitter thread, that doesn't really do well on Instagram. It's hard. Like I make threads about, I make videos, I make reels on things that kill sometimes on Twitter, complex thoughts and I have a decent audience on Instagram. And so I have these reels about things that kill, and they're a bit too complex. People just don't want to watch because I think the audiences are different. And I think the creators are different. People like Mr. Beast and LeBron, they're big enough. They're stars. Their star power will get them audiences on any platform because they're general purpose enough. But I think Twitter is about news and about like intellectual thoughts and about startups and about tech and I think Twitter is more. I think Instagram is more about lifestyle. And Meta has said that it plans on combining Threads with Instagram. And I feel like the brands are irreconcilable. I can't say this word. You can't really reconcile these brands. They're too different. So I think that's going to make it hard. To be honest, I they've said what their plan is, and to me, it doesn't make sense. Watching from the sidelines. I mean, I'm not really watching sidelines. I use both. I make startups. I make products, but I just that doesn't I feel like it's hard to combine those. The audiences are too different, and I think a lot of people will want to stay on Twitter. I think the audiences and the brands are just so different. Twitter, like I said, about thoughts, and Instagram is about lifestyle. Also, great Twitter writers are not always great speakers or showrunners. I'd actually think, or like showers, shows people who show their lives on IG. I think I'm a pretty good creator and speaker, but I mean, a lot of my tweets just bomb. And whereas a lot of other people, they have awesome Twitters, but they're rather boring speakers. But behind the keyboard, they're great. And that's what I think Twitter was about. It was people who are really good writers. And they don't need to be the loudest person in the room like I am, or like a lot of people on Instagram are. But they can write up a storm. They can do it really well. They can be engaging, and they'll get big audiences because of that on Twitter. So I think a lot of the audiences are incompatible. And I think people will continue to go to Twitter for short form news, or short form thoughts and discussions. So also Elon's moving Twitter away from just being that. It's turning it into the everything app. So honestly, it might also in the future have just a lot of functionality that Meta does not want to put into Threads. And it might be very distinguished as well. I'm recording this on a Twitter Spaces because I think Twitter Spaces is a great product. I wish it had desktop. I wish I could record on desktop. I can't do that very well. or at all. I tried. I don't think I could do it at all. But like Elon is iterating fast, which I really respect. And I like how the product is changing, and I like Twitter Spaces, which is why I am recording this right now on a Twitter Space. So here's something that I actually think is cool about Threads. I think the concept of the Fediverse, this like federated protocol where that Threads says they will in the future connect to. So when you sign up for Threads, it gives you a message saying, in the future, we're going to use ActivityPub, which is this protocol that Mastodon is on, and you will be able to read messages that are created on any client like Mastodon. But that's not, we don't have that now. And I'm gonna be honest, I think that was a publicity move, just like the lawsuit might be a publicity move on Twitter's part or on Elon's part. I think Meta saying that they will have Threads be part of this Fediverse, I think that it's a cool concept, but I think it's a publicity stunt, and it doesn't really make sense. I just don't think it would be in Meta's best interest to do that. It's like, it's like it's a cool concept, but I just don't think I don't think it's in Meta's best interest to have people not use the Threads app, and like they want people to use their products. So, I mean, I guess I could see it I guess I could see them doing that if people just want a different client to view these different conversations that are happening all over the web on this protocol. That's interesting. But then that would have to be a very separate product from Instagram, because like you don't necessarily want to follow the people who you like on Twitter, for example, like the types of people that you follow on Twitter, you don't necessarily want to follow them on Instagram. And then it would have to be two products that you are not merging. As like a client for this Fediverse, that has potential. So I think the current version doesn't really work. But as a client for the Fediverse, that's like, I think Blue Sky is also, don't quote me on this. I haven't looked too closely into Blue Sky, but I think it's also protocol. So like as a client for a protocol, that's cool. But I don't really understand why. Yeah, I guess that's cool. Building like the most popular client that you can also connect to your Instagram followers. That's a cool concept. And where you can like share things immediately onto Instagram stories, which is what a feature that Threads has. That's a cool concept. That's another thing that people aren't talking about. So like basically creating like the most popular client for the type of content that Twitter is, the most popular client. That's pretty dope. That's actually pretty dope. And I guess like the question is, will enough people want to go to this like open protocol where they're doing like Twitter style conversations? I'm not really sure, to be honest. I mean, I think if Twitter's stopped as a platform being so politicized, like it didn't take sides, I kind of think like in a few months, people would just like forget about their hate. People's attention spans are very short, and I think their memories are short. And I think I don't know. I think a lot of people there's a lot of really interesting influencers, and they're already influential on Twitter, and they're going to continue to use Twitter. So you might just continue to use Twitter. Also, like right now, like this Fediverse, it's like complicated. Like my handle on Threads is edward.builds, because that's my handle on Instagram. But like in the Fediverse, it will be like edward.builds@threads.net. And that makes it a bit less easy. And I don't really know. I guess you'll have a search, but like, I wonder how much people really care, to be honest. I feel like just this like whole concept of the Fediverse is just, it's fueled by hate. People, I think it's fueled by hate towards of Elon, and I don't think that can really last. I mean, I guess people's hate of Donald Trump lasted for a really long time and continues to last. But I also think like Elon can win public sentiment back. So, or kind of just like not be as politically active, and people will forget and then go back to using Twitter. So yeah, it's not like, I'll say it. So Mr. Beast, he said, he put this on Threads. He said, I feel like I'm cheating on Twitter by using this app. I kind of feel like that too. Um, I think at the end of the day, creators are going to create. They just want to be, I'm a creator. I just want to be in the places where it's easiest to get the most attention. It's not easy to do it on, I mean, yeah, it's not easy to get a ton of attention on Threads. It is an opportunity like to upload some videos that do well or upload content that do well to Threads. But like, there's no desktop access yet. And it's easy to get, I think, get noticed by like your favorite creator, but this won't last for long. And I'm not sure that in the long run, Threads, I don't think in the long run, Threads will be the best for the types of people who do really well on Twitter to do really well. I just don't think so. I don't think enough people care about the Fediverse. That's really the play that Meta is doing, is they are betting that the Fediverse, this open protocol where you can put out tweet style content, will get popular. They are betting that will get popular. And I don't think it will. I think if it gets popular, it's just because people dislike Elon and don't want to be on Twitter because they don't want to support Elon. But I think Twitter invented the category. Twitter still does it best. I think Twitter will continue to do it best for a long time. And I don't think you're going to see the Fediverse get to a scale where Threads is this huge breakout successful product. Like, I guess you could compare it to kind of like Chrome. Chrome is a browser for the web, and Threads would kind of be like a browser for these open short form messages, text messages and videos and images in that way. And yeah, I also like, I don't think the images that do well on Twitter necessarily do well on Instagram all the time. It's just like creators are so different. So I think there's like a lot to merge, and they're just different brands. And also, so here's like, a prediction that people make about ChatGPT is that it will be like basically like the GUI, the graphical user interface, is dead. It's just going to be a chat interface. But I actually don't think people like having too much optionality. I think people like brands that are top of mind for different purposes because it makes decision-making easier. It's easier to buy a Prime branded product because it's going to be decent. And you don't want to have to look at a bunch of different brands, even if it's going to save you money. You kind of just want to get your thing that you need and save the time and the headache rather than like shopping around. Some people are avid shoppers. That's their passion. They love to do that. My dad is like that. And he likes to spend his time to get great deals. And I think a lot of people, they want to have something that's inexpensive, but they don't mind paying, like, if they have to pay a few extra pennies or dollars to save the time and the headache. I think they'll do that. And I think it's the same concept with ChatGPT. Like, you want to have options, you want to see options, so you have ideas. And I think that's like the same. That'll be like the same with this brand Threads versus like Twitter. Twitter invented the category. I think it does it well. So, yeah, I think this episode has gone on for a decent amount of time, and I'd love to see some comments and have people tell me what they think about my prediction. Right now, I'm pretty hyped. Like, it is cool to use it. I don't think it'll last for long. So if there's someone that you want to get in touch with on thread, like on Instagram, they will be on threads and you can do it pretty easily. Not the huge people, like not like Hermosi, but they're smaller creators for sure. People who have like tens of thousands of followers for sure. And I would say give it a shot. It's kind of cool. But I think honestly, by like the end of the weekend, people might be bored of it. So that's the Edward Show #2. I'll do another one of these tomorrow, and I hope everybody enjoyed this. Thanks for listening. Bye now.